the home of inspiration every day.
Most people give up on themselves easily. You know the human spirit is powerful.
From news,
Countries across the globe have been hit by the COVID-19 virus.
views,
There's a global trend to see an increase in GBV incidences, specifically domestic violence.
sports,
What's he say? It's a really good ball. It's Shabalala.
and music to inspire you every day. This is Vuka Online, your inspiration radio station.
Hi there, and welcome to Healthcare Hour with Colleen Qvist. Another week. I'm sure that you have been grateful about all the things that have happened. I know that sometimes what happens in any week isn't really good, but it's also about seeing, okay, when we look back and we reflect on things, how did we grow from it? Who did we meet as a result of being stuck in an airport, for instance? Healthcare Hour with me, you know, is all about healthcare professionals. It's about us understanding that they are people. They get tired, they get hungry, they have families who they probably would like to see. It's also about us understanding that as healthcare professionals, we need to improve the relationship we have with our patients and our patients' families. It's all about improving communication. It's about us talking to each other and realizing that we're people. Often doctors get put on pedestals. Other healthcare professionals also get put on pedestals, maybe less pedestals than doctors, but they do. And then, of course, as public, because all of us are public, we need to understand that at some point we will be the patient. Whether it's for something little, something big, we will eventually be the patient. And we need to be aware, we need to be informed about our own bodies to understand that what goes on in our own body, we are the experts at it. And we can't just be passive little potatoes sitting on the couch, not knowing what's happening. So my guest today, who we'll meet after the break, is Dr NOKUKHANYA KHANYILE, and we better put in her married surname as well. It's Khanyile Lenaake. And she will tell me if I've pronounced that correctly. But let's go for a break first, and then I will explain to you how I met this amazing, bubbly, gorgeous woman. But first, let's go for a break.
The home of inspiration every day.
Most people give up on themselves easily. You know the human spirit is powerful.
From news,
Countries across the globe have been hit by the COVID-19 virus.
views,
There's a global trend to see an increase in GBV incidences, specifically domestic violence.
sports,
What's he say? It's a really good ball. It's Shabalala.
and music to inspire you every day. This is Vuka Online, your inspiration radio station.
Welcome back. You're listening to Healthcare Hour with Colleen Qvist. My guest today is the bubbly, gorgeous Dr NOKUKHANYA KHANYILE Lenaake. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Absolutely perfect. Thank you, Colleen.
Okay. All right. So let's explain to listeners that I first met you at a business side of medicine. And for me, a while back, but also recently. And for me, you are a person who's bubbly, who's real, who's the type of energy that is contagious. And although you are, as I said to you earlier, you are an extremely gorgeous, beautiful woman, you don't make other women feel less gorgeous.
Thank you so much.
Yes. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me and also bringing me on and sharing me with your listeners. This is exciting.
Yes. Okay. So now let's share with the listeners. You are a doctor and you're a pediatrician.
Correct.
But for me, I often speak about and you encapsulate and you literally are and in that so often the stereotypical version of a doctor is, oh, what are you? Who are you? I'm a doctor. But you are and so many other things. So share with us about all the ands.
All right. So I am a mom and a wife. So I'm married to my husband. As you said, I had to double barrel.
Yes.
Then I'm also a mom to a 4-year-old, Diepollo, who's currently in preschool. I'm also really active in the church. I like to serve on the worship team at church, so I'm a Christian at heart. And I really am a community worker. I feel I call myself a community health advocate and a change maker in the community. And the primary way that I do this outside of pediatrics is to have an organization called Mental Matters South Africa, which I am the vice president of. And we started that in 2018 to destigmatize mental illness and, more importantly, promote mental wellness in everybody, because we know that everyone has some kind of mental health challenge. Whether it becomes disorder or not is not the issue for us. We want to recognize that everyone has a challenge, and we want to provide tools and have conversations that make it healthy and improve and destigmatize those conversations.
Yes. So it's also interesting as well, like people often talk about mental health as if, we're not meant to have it. Or like, oh no, I don't have mental health. But we're all meant to have mental health. It's the same as we all have physical health. We somewhere along the continuum of yay, amazing, or not too good. But yeah. And as you said, at some point, every single one of us may have a little challenge with mental health.
Yeah, and I think the thing is we forget that even though there's a lot more awareness about it and there's a lot of names that we can put to particular conditions, etc., we don't have to over pathologize things. We can also remember that life itself is hard. And so what we try to approach the topic like with is to say, sometimes the hardness of life can predispose you to certain things, but it's not actually an illness that you have to get medical treatment for or spend hundreds or thousands of rands on. Sometimes it's important to recognize that this is just a really bad day and it sucks. And I don't feel like dealing with all the stuff I have to, but these are the tools that I have. These are the people I can talk to kind of help me get out of that dark place.
Yeah. And I think what happens is that a lot of people, as you're saying, are turning everything into you have a down moment. And now suddenly you're depressed, and we put labels on it. And then we almost like, hang on, where's my label? Let me put myself in the box, stick the label on, and now I become the label.
Exactly. And I think it's important to name things because then you know what to do with it. But when you overemphasize certain aspects of your personality, you over criticize certain things in other people, I think what then happens is you tend to kind of label them and stigmatize them by trying to explain who you are. And you reduce the chance for actual help that's going to connect you to people. I think mental health enables us to connect with people better. And I find that if you're constantly saying, these people don't understand me, you don't know why I'm this way, you can't help me because you don't realize, these are my boundaries. I think we need to find the healthy versus the unhealthy aspects of mental health and then make sure that we're somewhere in the middle so that we're not, pushing people away, but we're also not allowing people to walk all over us.
Yes. And in that also, you can slide a little way this way, but then, as a coach, it would obviously be that you need to be self-aware to the level of, oh, I've slid a little bit this way.
Absolutely.
And to work out, okay, what, as you said, the tools, what tools are we going to use to now come back up again?
Yeah, so mental health for me is a spectrum. There is a challenge that comes on, and it's a short-term temporary thing that progresses onto some long-term chronic stuff that maybe if it's not dealt with in the beginning and becomes unresolved, it really starts to hamper your performance and sometimes can even lead to burnout. And then you get the other end of the spectrum, which is the actual illness that develops. And I think it's important that we realize that even if someone does have a mental health diagnosis, and they're on treatment for that, they won't always show symptoms, but that doesn't mean that they don't need maintenance therapy. And it doesn't mean that they won't, have danger signs that they exhibit. And so I think what I like about what we do at Mental Matters South Africa is we kind of look at all spectrums. We give you definitions of what this thing is. We give you what the understood management is, and then we move on to this is a danger sign. This is a situation where you cannot wait for help. You need to act now. But also, once you've kind of gotten your management plan in place with your healthcare providers, what kind of maintenance can anyone do, whether you have this illness, whether you've had this experience? to kind of keep yourself healthy, low budget, because we know mental health in South Africa is very expensive. So we try to find like low budget, everyday things that you can do with your children, you can do with your family, and it's not going to be a weird thing. It's just something that can promote mental health for everyone.
So give us some examples of some of those tools.
Yeah. So we just had a parenting mental matters this weekend. And so we looked at a couple of things. We didn't just look at the mental health of parenting. We looked at also grief and either how to explain that to a child or your family, and how to deal with it yourself in a healthy way. We looked at infertility and even people who don't want kids, like how do we have that conversation to, healthily speak about that. And then we also looked at just overall mental health, why it's important that you take care of yourself and identify trigger signs in your children that may be a problem. So one of the things that comes out strongly, from that is, if a parent is going through mental health challenges, it reduces their ability to connect with their child. Now, for the most part, kids are resilient. They're able to kind of figure out their environment and bounce back. But if that becomes chronic and it becomes a tool that you don't deal with, then you find over time that affects a child's self-esteem. It affects their performance. They might even feel anxious because they feel like they're going to be shouted at when they get home. So what we always say is sometimes speak to your children every night, check in with them, ask them 2 questions. What was something that made you smile today? And what was something that made you sad today? It's a very simple question that you ask a child. You can ask an adult even. You can even ask your husband or your partner that. You could ask your best friend, what was something that made you smile today? And what was something that made you sad? And over time, you start to see patterns. And especially with kids, it's very difficult for a child to lie when they're speaking about like their feelings, unless they're afraid of what you're going to do. So you find over time that these you kind of pick up patterns. You can see, oh, when you walked into the house this way, you weren't really wanting to share, okay, that you're actually quite sad. I could see you're sad. Why are you not telling me you're sad? And you can inquire a little bit more. And those simple tools help you build connection with your children. But also, I think as parents, sometimes my daughter sometimes will say to me, Mommy, it made me sad when you shouted at me because I was taking too long to put on my shoes. So that helps me realize, okay, I was the one who was late. I rushed her and I ended up shouting at her. So I need to make more time so that I don't rush her and I don't push her to be, feel the grunt of my frustrations. So, yeah.
And very beautiful there in that recognizing that children's emotions are not less than adults.
Exactly. They are growing, developing human beings. And I think what I love about children, and that's also why I went into pediatrics, is because they evolve over time. They're not static. And so there's many opportunities for trauma to happen, but also on the other side, there's so many opportunities for growth. And you can see children who have had behavioral issues, children who've had traumatic experiences, go through therapy, play therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy if they're a little bit older, and just how they blossom and they bloom into the people that you can see is inside of them, but they're either too afraid, too anxious, too depressed to release those personalities. And so they are just as valid, just as important as my feelings are. And I actually sometimes think they hold us more accountable than other adults do.
Yes.
Because again, they don't
And
lie.
they say it like it is.
Absolutely. Yes. And the truth hurts, eh?
Yeah. And also they don't care, oh, but you're a doctor this, or you are, they don't care how famous you are, or how famous you're not, or you're a professor, or no, you're a mommy and you messed up. Yeah. Yes. But just on that as well, it's also, something as well to remind parents is to ask questions like your questions. They're open questions. So it's not like, how was your day? Okay.
Yes.
Or her. Okay. We can't, I always said to my daughter right years ago, no, well, her is not an answer. I want an answer. Yes. And from there, you establish the habit of sharing, but very good in that you said as well, is that you can't, like, if they're scared of your response, or, oh, I had a sad day today, my friend wouldn't talk to me, mommy's not there to go solve it. mommy's there to support and love you while you work through it.
Yes, and I think that's a very important point to anyone, not just children. My husband and I do this thing like, because I am the crier between the two of us. I am very emotional, and he will ask me, okay, do you want me to listen or do you want me to help?
Yes.
And I'm like, I just need to get this off of my chest, and I cry for like 10 minutes, and then I'm like,
Yes.
okay, I feel better. And it's exactly what you're saying. Sometimes it's support, sometimes it's advice that's needed.
Yeah. And we're not that when we hold, we're not required to fix.
Yes.
Just need to hold. Yes.
You just need to hold that space for the person to experience their emotions. And sometimes, I always think of my mental health, and when you go to therapy, like like a long string of yarn, and it's like all tangled up in your head. And talking to someone just helps you pull it out in a nice, neat line.
Yes.
Them giving it back to you kind of like rolls it up in a ball so that you're like, okay, I know what to do with this now.
Yeah.
And then you can go through and make your masterpiece. Yeah.
Yes. And what you see as well, like in coaching, or when someone is saying it, they hear it as well. And they go,
Yes.
oh, okay. And they come up with their own solutions, because when it's all jumbled up as the ball in the head, they don't hear it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go for a break. When we come back, we're going to be chatting more, but let's go for that break.
How do you know the life of personal coach you're about to work with is who they say they are? How do you know if they can do the job? At the Africa Board for Coaching, Consulting and Coaching Psychology, we can tell you. So, before you share your secrets and spend your money, check with us first. Visit www.abccccp.com or call us on 012-751-7608. The ABCCP, the professional body for coaches.
Welcome back. You are listening to Healthcare Hour with Colleen Qvist, and you will have heard my guest saying she's getting something to drink, because guess what? Doctors are real. There was my We're not editing that out, Dr. Khanyile. We're keeping it in.
Okay, well that's what it is.
Okay, so for those of you who just joined us, we are talking to Dr. NOKUKHANYA KHANYILE. That is her double-barreled married surname. You describe yourself as being a real girl in a big world, tasked by an awesome God to save little people.
Yes. I think.
Well, I know you, so that sums you up beautifully. But yes.
Thank you.
Tell us more about that. Wanting to be pediatrician.
Yeah, so when I first started with my school career, which was in high school, and we were choosing all of the subjects, I wasn't really sure about what I wanted to do, but I knew it was to be something that would teach people a skill or teach people information that they could use for themselves. And then it was also something that wasn't going to bore me, because I need to be stimulated quite a lot. And then also something that was going to help people. So that ended up being between teaching, accounting, and medicine, and I got into medicine. Throughout my internship career, which is the 2 years after you finish medical school and then community service, I really found a passion for pediatrics, because I realized that all of the issues that happen to society affect children most severely. So if you look at gender-based violence, if you look at abuse, if you look at unemployment rates, crime, etc., the children are the ones who are affected the most. And even in our management plans of taking care of children, very oftentimes we had to ask the family what's happening at home, and we had to involve some kind of assistance, either a social worker, a therapist, etc. So that opened my eyes to how big the community was around this one child, and also helped me see if I can help a mom and give her the information she needs. In South Africa and in a lot of cultures, you don't just take care of that one person who's your child. You tend to be taking care of your auntie's child, and then the neighbor's child, and then the backroom's child, So if that mom has the right information that's healthy, evidence-based, culturally appropriate, then we are able to know that when she goes home, she's able to take care of the kids in her community, recognize danger signs, and know when to come back early. And that basically, everyone says, Kanya, like, you're supposed to be able to get patients into work. And I'm like, yes, but if you're coming in to ask me questions that I could easily teach you and you could that could become knowledge for you, why would I ask you to depend on me? I want to empower families so that when I know they're calling me, I know, okay, now it's trouble. So helping little people started with pediatrics, and recently I've adjusted it to say to help serve his people, because I realized that the community is not just little people, it's everyone. And so
Yeah.
service for me is bigger than myself. Helping for me means I'm helping someone who has a need, but serving is saying I recognize that you and I both have challenges, and how can we serve one another? I'm not putting myself above or below you. Let me just serve you and be at that level. Yeah.
And so what you're seeing there as well is that we're all interconnected. And so by serving gogo or by serving mom, you are eventually it ripples into the child. It changes
Exactly.
the environment that the child grows up in. And
Exactly.
for
And I
me,
think
who coaches adults, it's also about seeing that I often see like the children on the playground, but they're now in coaching sessions as adults or in boardrooms. Yeah, there's the same learned behavior from when they were children.
yes, and I think we you know, there's the thing that says that children don't do what you say, they do what you do.
Yes,
And so if we can get healthy behaviors in the adults, it's a bit more difficult because I mean you kind of like going against all these years and years of learned patterns and learned behaviors that this adult has had. But once they get that right, and I've seen beautiful examples where, you know, we'd be in the ward and a mom came in so anxious, so nervous, and we spoke to her and we said, you know what, I know that you're anxious and you're nervous, but baby is too. So if you have any questions, call us, ask us, we'll help you. And she would like call us and she'd ask us, and then you would see like a situation where we needed to put up a drip for her baby. And now the child is going to mommy and saying, Mommy, what are they doing? And mommy is now explaining to this child. So she's able to relieve her anxiety with us. And that behavior shows the child, okay, I need to ask for help. I need to ask for clarification. That will help relieve my anxiety. I love pediatrics.
we can hear. Okay, so you don't only love pediatrics, you love things like makeup and fashion and speaking at events.
Mhm. So
Tell us about that side of you.
I look at myself as a holistic healthcare provider. So biopsychosocial. So bio would be body. Obviously, there's the healthcare side of it, but also fitness. So I regularly participate in fitness activities. Anyone who follows me on social media will see the crazy things my trainer gets me to do. But it's also nice because it challenges me. And it also, because I personally would rather hit a punching bag than anyone else. So I think it's very important for
That's
my
a better idea to actually hit the punching bag, you know, unless you're planning on designing new kinds of prison uniforms.
let's not get there.
Yes,
But that's the body side, and also taking people along that journey. And then there's the psychological. So I really feel with mental matters, every time I do an event, I learn more about myself. I learn
yes.
more about how to apply those things to my family. So, I mean, I share regularly my journey with my husband and how silly we are together, the things that my daughter does, you know, just activities I do with my friends. And then the social is like interpersonal relationships. So things like the business side of medicine, great networking events. I love sharing people who are doing amazing things in their spheres, either when it comes to music, when it comes to fashion as well, because I personally love working with people who are kind of people that I could find next door. So you'll see the person who does my makeup. She is literally like someone I could run into at Woolies. The person who does my styling, same thing. The lady who does my hair, my lashes. So I love supporting small businesses, and I promote them actively as much as I can on my social media platform, because I understand that there is a role for corporates, and corporates are great. They give people money, but what's the point if I'm having all of this money and it's not improving someone else's life? So I try to be intentional about the brands that I collaborate with. Also because those are brands that I would use. You know, I don't like just telling people, oh, use this thing because they gave me money. No, it's because I've actually used this brand. over and over again, maybe for more
Yeah.
than 6 months before I even like did social media for everyone else. That's very important to me.
Yeah, and also the authenticity is being part of your brand. So you're not going to stand there and say, "Oh, you must try this beetroot juice." Meanwhile, you highly allergic to beetroot juice, but let's pretend, or oh, they paid me the most, so now suddenly I love apples. And you're like, I
Exactly,
hate
yeah.
apples. Why is she now posing with an apple?
Yeah, and in South Africa, they know when you are being disingenuous. And I think my followers will also be like, if it's never happened, but I feel like they would be like, why are you like, what's the
Yes.
synergy? Like,
Why are
where
you
does it?
backing that now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so it's about real before money. It's about, but oh, they offered me trillion million kind of story. It's a case of no, I don't eat apples, so I'm not going to promote apples.
Definitely. Money for me is a tool. It's more of a thing I need because I mean, you need money to pay for your petrol and things like that. But if I feel, and also partnership and collaboration is a big deal for me. So if there's a brand that's really beautiful and they're giving me money, but the people in the meeting are just a bit off, I really believe that love it for you guys, but I want to create long-term partnerships. And anyone who's
Yes.
followed me on social media can see that running through my thread.
Yeah. So to use a South Africanism before we go for another break, if it doesn't feel lekker, it's not lekker.
Yeah, man.
Okay, let's go for another break. We'll be back.
The Africa Center for Work-Based Learning is a professional development center for professionals who aim to improve their professional standing. This means that the learning programs we run are more than just academic programs. They are work-based programs that focus on leveraging your current experience as a professional to build your overall profile. A year down the line, the Africa Center for Work-Based Learning is developing into a preferred center for professional development in Pretoria, with 8 professional development faculties including accounting, teaching, entrepreneurship, as well as IT and many more. For more information, go to acwbl.org or dial +27 12 751 7608. The Africa Center for Work-Based Learning, where work is learning.
Welcome back. You're listening to Healthcare Hour with Colleen Qvist. My bubbly guest today is NOKUKHANYA KHANYILE.
Yes.
Sure, we can't have a few drinks and remember your name, will we?
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
we'd get it
next
better if we had a few drinks. Yes.
next time.
Yeah. Okay, so we know that you then about the holistic, the whole version of the person, and that their health isn't just one aspect. But then talk to us about, with your colleagues from a mental health point of view and healthcare professionals.
So I think it's a huge topic, especially for junior doctors. But I think there's a forgotten middle, which is all the medical officers and the registrars that are above the junior doctors, but they're not specialists yet. And so those are the people who basically run hospitals, and they're the ones who stay behind when the interns and the junior doctors leave. And they're the ones who stay behind when the specialists go home for the night. They're actually running the hospitals. So we find that there's a lot of focus on the junior doctors. We need to protect their mental health. And I've started to realize that it's important that we do that, but we can't protect junior doctors' mental health at the expense of someone else. And we can't just kind of say everyone needs to just deal with it and get on with it because the system is, overrun with patients and we're very short-staffed. So what I try to do is in my individual teams, I have a very strict rule that is we have to eat and you have to take a break. Doesn't matter what's happening, the patients are not going to finish. So if you are hungry, you cannot think clearly because you're just frustrated and you're angry. And now you don't know, are you upset because you're hungry or you're upset because this patient is actually frustrating you? The second thing is, again, you need to take a break. So there's a lot of difficult things that we see as people. So I'll speak about my experience from pediatrics. I won't talk about internship because that was a long time ago and there was a lot. But during our
Because you're
training,
94 now, hey? Yes. Okay.
So during our training, we get exposed to so many difficult conditions, not just the actual medical things we have to deal with, but the social circumstances. You hear stories of families that are really hard to deal with. And so when we have to go through those and take those histories and speak to those families, sometimes emotionally it will hit you. Not because you think that's going to happen to you, but it's just really hard to hear that there's another human being going through that and they're still here, you know? And so I always advocate, and I'm like, after a resuscitation, do you guys need a break? I can stay on the floor. If I'm the one who needs the break, I'm like, okay, guys, I need 5 minutes. And I highly advocate for everyone to just take a break, cry, do whatever you need to do, and come back. Because if you don't take that break, then it's going to build and build and build, and it's going to happen when you get home. And the last thing is my aim in life is to get my team out once work is done. I don't want to stay after hours and pushing other things. So we try to be as efficient as possible with a lot of communication. So now what's frustrating about that is sometimes people think you're being bossy, which I don't mind, because at least you're getting home at 4 o'clock. You're leaving the hospital at 4 o'clock every day. But the other thing is, I think I've seen and had such great team experiences. We like sit together, we make sure we all sit and eat dinner. I mean, unless something is happening, we like send everybody so considerate of one another. If someone is sick, we always say to them, no, dude, like stay at home. We'll make a plan. We'll figure out the ward. No, it's fine. I mean, I'll come to work with a mask. I'm like, no, because don't forget, you're going to make us sick. You're going to make the patient sick, and you're not going to be able to recover fully. Take the 3 days. You'll see us when you come back. And I think people always, they forget that with mental health, it's an important thing that you consider, if you were in that position, how you would want to be treated, but also give grace to other people because they are sick, and maybe that person's just having a bad month and they're just getting sick often. We need to be able to put 100% in when we're at work. So for my colleagues, at least, I try to be the example of that. And yeah, it sometimes works out, sometimes it doesn't work out, but at least we try.
So what I'm hearing as well is that I've got your back, you've got my back.
100%.
It's also about collaboration. We work together. We're not going to compete. And even in the hospital, you know, where you've got like a team where you may have more than one pediatrician or more than one cardiologist or more than, it's not like, I'm not speaking to you today. It's like, how do we, get rid of the enemy. It's how do we actually work together?
And I think we underestimate or not, we always think I need to be friends with the people I work with. No, it's fine. I've got enough friends. It's cool. But I still have to be respectful of everyone I work with. And there's been multiple times where like someone has said something rude to me, whatever. And I'm just like, okay, I don't know what's going on. Like in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't know what's going on with you. But anyway, and then I go back to them and I'm like, okay, I need this. And they're like, why are you talking to me? I'm like, because I need this for the patient, you know? Then there's like a weird energy. And I'm saying, look, even if you don't invite me anywhere, even if you never talk to me again after
We
this.
don't have to have a bra on Friday.
But
we have to work together for the patient.
It's really fine. Like you're a lovely human being to someone, not to me. It's okay. You need to remember that the work, when we're in a professional environment, the work has to come first. And if during that outcome you build relationships, and that's happened to me, I've built beautiful friendships from the work environment, then that's amazing. And that's a blessing that you have. But it shouldn't be the focus of, I want everyone to like me. And if people aren't nice to me, then I don't want to talk to them. You're going to sell yourself short every time.
Yeah, and so it's there first and foremost. We're there for the patient. Yes. But then, as we know in the doctor's pledge, it's also about self-care. And we cannot be there for the patient if we aren't self-caring.
Yeah, and you can't pour from an empty cup. And that's the cheesy, corny, everybody talks about. It's not that popular without sound reason. If you, and I use the example of being hungry. If you are hungry, you cannot think, you don't have energy to think at the high level you need to think. And now you're getting frustrated. If you are tired and you're not able to take even like a 30-minute break, your emotions, your mood are going to be affected. And so I've learned over a very long time that it's important to first look at the behavior and look at the circumstance around the behavior. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. This person is telling me to leave them alone. I totally understand it. But in the morning, say to them, look, I know you were frustrated and I know you were tired, but please don't talk to me again like that. Because I think if we're going to have a good working relationship, we need to be respectful, especially in front of the junior doctors, especially in front of the senior doctors, because we need to look like a team. And collaboration is very important in the medical space, because the interns always say, we feel like, we're just, you don't need us, whatever. And I'm like, no, not for me. For me, if you don't do your job, I have to do your job, which means that I have to take time out of my schedule to go and do what you're doing. You are just as important as I am in the team. I just have more senior responsibilities because I've got the experience. Doesn't mean that what you're doing is not important, and it doesn't mean that anybody can do what you do. No.
Yeah.
There's levels in the team for a reason. And I think what's important is that you don't take offense to that. Play your parts in the team, because especially in resuscitations, I tell people all the time, if you just play your part, if you just focus on finding a drip for that patient, and once that job is done, you walk away, it helps me think clearer as the team leader who's leading the resuscitation. And that's kind of like a picture for life. If you try to do what everyone else is doing, you're going to get caught up. You're going to step on toes. You're going to cause outcomes that might not be favorable. So just take a step back, focus on what you need to do. And when the work day is done, 8 o'clock, go home. It's time to go home. Enjoy your life. Spend time with your family. Go on holidays. Take your leave. Take your leave.
Okay. So very much integration, very much understanding that we are whole people. We're not just work people. We're not just home people. But of course, what happens at home impacts work. What happens at work impacts. But to also realize that we need boundaries. We need empathy, but not sympathy. And we've also got to make sure that we fill up again, that empty cup, can't pour from an empty cup. Yes, there's a lot of wisdom in it, although it sounds all like, yes, cliche.
The cup and you're filling it and you're like, okay, so can I go now? You're like, no, wait.
But it's also realizing the acute stress that we live under. We're aware of the acute stress. It's the chronic stress that you think, oh no, but that's my day, that's normal, that's whatever. And then eventually the body says, no, no more, we're done.
Yeah, absolutely. And someone, I don't know if it was an Instagram reel or something, that said, your body gives you warning signs all the time. And you need to listen to those warning signs and act on them, because the day it says it's enough, you will not be able to do anything else. And all of that micro guilt that you're building is going to come up out of this huge guilt bubble. And then what happens is you won't be able to heal when you're physically broken. I always use the example, and there was a talk I gave once where it was in December 2023, and I pulled a muscle when I was at the gym because I had been experiencing a lot of stress. I'd been pushing myself. I said, I have to go to the gym because I have to be mentally strong, and I have to keep pushing because I'm the most senior on the floor. I have to be the example, and blah, 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 blah,
I have to.
My body said, that's great, but I'm enough now. And I remember I had to rest for 10 days. I had to sit or lie on my back for 10 days. And I was so guilty because the team that I was working for was already short-staffed. But my mother came over and she said, the problem is you are thinking about them and they're complaining about you. You have compassion for them, but they're complaining. Why is it that you... So you guys are not on the same level. It's a different story if they're saying, we hope Khanya's okay. Are you all right? No, take your... No, that's not what they think about. They're complaining about you, and you need to take care of yourself. Because if you don't take care of yourself now, when you go back, you're going to be at 50% when you should be at 100%. And then you're going to be starting from on the back foot, and you're just going to keep finding ways to catch up, and you never will. And so I think that advice from my mom was really important, because when we take leave, please, can I advise healthcare providers, don't take leave for study. Like, find maybe 1 or 2 hours a day. That's it, a day to study something. And that will build on. I think we get caught up in these 5 or 6 hour study sessions, and we feel like we're going to be productive and whatever, which is fine. But I think, like, for long-term learning, You need to take your breaks. You need to sleep every night. You need to eat well. Everyone knows me. I love food. So that's always a tricky one for me. But we need to take care of our mental health. And that starts with when you're taking leave or when you are resting because you're sick, rest, switch your phone off. There's nothing they're going to need from you that they can't get from someone else.
So beautifully summarized for us. And gee, we're like that. We've run out of time. At the beginning of the show, you mentioned this event, Mental Matters South Africa. We just missed it. When, do you have them regularly? Are they ongoing? Is it every few months? So people know to look out for the next one.
Yes, so we have them every couple of months. We have seminar style setup. So we have a couple of speakers who come on and even a panel discussion where you, as the participants who come into the audience, are able to ask questions. We bring healthcare providers and we also bring people who live with mental health challenges into the same room so that we can kind of hear one another out and see how the healthcare plans get affected by our lifestyles and how sometimes defaulting is not my fault. It's just really difficult for me to stick to the plan that you've made. So we have these sessions every couple of months. You can check us out on Instagram at mentalmatters_SA or on LinkedIn and Facebook, Mental Matters South Africa. And you'll be able to catch up on what happened at the last event, as well as when the next one is coming up.
Awesome. And also people are also welcome to follow you on Instagram and other social media. You do have like 282,000 or something followers, but you know what? There's always space for another one.
Yes, welcome to the family. Every morning I say a good morning, everybody, for everybody, just to say we're alive, we're awake, we're here. So come join the family. It's at Dr_Khanyile on Instagram and at Dr_Khanyile_ on TikTok. LinkedIn and Facebook is Dr NOKUKHANYA KHANYILE.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so you have been an amazing guest. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Colleen. It was amazing. And thank you for sharing me again with your listeners. I take this as an honor because I know, you have to be aware of who you expose people to. So thank you very much for thinking of me. This is an amazing show.
Thank you. All right. So you've been listening to Healthcare Hour with Colleen Qvist. Please remember that you're loved, you matter, and you're not alone. And we'll see you next week.
The home of inspiration every day.
Most people give up on themselves easily. You know the human spirit is powerful.
From news,
Countries across the globe have been hit by the COVID-19 virus.
views,
There's a global trend to see an increase in GBV incidences, specifically domestic violence.
sports,
What's he say? It's a really good ball. It's Shabalala.
and music to inspire you every day. This is Vuka Online, your inspiration radio station.